Da 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 da. Okay, I'm done. You probably had enough time to read that. But if you didn't, this is Star Wars, episode 7.5. A completely legitimate, overly thought out theory about how Rey is Luke Skywalker's daughter. Okay, now, before I continue, I want to make a couple of notes. One, I was going to dress the part. Don't criticize me for not. I just didn't feel like it. I tried to record this another time, but then I didn't feel like I was giving you all the information I needed to, and then I just didn't feel like it this time. 2, this video is going to be a theory wrapped around facts, because I'm going to present you with a lot of facts and a lot of things that other people say, and I'm going to present you a theory based around all of these things that are in the universe, are implied to be in the universe, or are things I think could be in the universe. And the theory is based off of all of these things. Okay. After I'm done presenting the theory to you, I am going to present you other views about the theory, because this is one of the most accepted theories about who Rey is, and a lot of people have feelings about it, some positive, some negative, and I want to present you with both sides so that you can make up your own decision about what you want to happen. And then I'm going to present you with an alternate theory. So this is going to be a very long video. I just want you to be aware, and I want you to be prepared, so sit back, get some popcorn, turn on some Star Wars music in the background, because this is going to be fun. And by the way, I just want to prove to you that I am not just speaking off of the top of my head. I actually have, like, notes here. So I'm not just BSing you and just picking stuff to say. Okay, the first time I tried to record this, I realized that I had given the wrong years. And that was the major decision in why I should re-record the video with the accurate information, because I was under the wrong impression. But my theory actually works better with the actual numbers that are correct. Okay, so at the beginning of The Force Awakens, it is 30 years since the Battle of Endor. Originally, I said 35 because a lot of people argue it's 30, some people argue it's 40, so then I'm just like, 35 sounds good, but then I realized it doesn't work as well with 35, and it actually says in a description of the movie that it's been 30 years, so I decided that's probably the more accurate thing. So it's been 30 years since the Battle of Endor, when the Empire was crushed, thanks to Anakin Skywalker, because he's Anakin when he betrays the Emperor, in my opinion. And I'm actually going to go into a little dissertation about that, because I have a lot of stuff to say, because Star Wars is crazy for me. Okay, 30 years since the Battle of Endor. According to Wikipedia, Ben Solo, he's Ben Solo before he turns evil, then he's Kylo Ren. So if I refer to Ben, it is most likely Ben Solo. Okay. So Ben Solo is 30 years old, because he's born 0 to 1 years after the Battle of Endor. However, most people suggest he was born that same year. So I suggest that he is also 30 years old. And according to Wikipedia, again, Rey was born about 11 years after the Battle of Endor. So that makes Rey 11 years younger than Kylo. So that makes her 19. Luke disappeared. People argue 2 different numbers, 15 or 20 years. And I usually like to go in the middle. But 17 and a half years would screw up all the math, and I'd be like, nah, I'm not doing this thing anymore. So when it's 17 and a half, you round up because it's 0.5, and he was gone 18 years. That is 14 years after the Battle of Endor. So, according to that, Kylo was 14 when he betrayed Luke and killed all the Padawan. And a lot of people are just like, he had to be 15, he can't be anything younger, but they base that on the fact it looks like Kylo has already gone through puberty, and scientifically, a male can go through puberty anytime between 12 and 16. So, if he's 14, he still could have gone through puberty. Even if he was 13, he could have still gone through puberty. I don't know why people are just like so hung up on the he has to be 15. He doesn't have to be anything. So I think 14 is an accurate number for him. And seeing as Rey is 11 years younger than him, Rey would have been 3, or about 3 at the time. Now, that seems counterintuitive. Why would I present you with all of these ages and numbers when it clearly makes it look like Kylo and Rey probably knew each other, or Ben and Rey knew each other? That's not necessarily true. You can't just... Rey is 3. Even if she knew Kylo, she wouldn't remember it, because you never have any memories, or you have very few memories under the age of 3 or 4. So if she's 3 at max, she can't have actively remembered Kylo. And even in that time, Kylo may have... Honestly, I think Kylo did know her, because he did look like, I know this girl, when he encountered her again when she was 19. I feel like he has some recollection of knowing who she is, so I feel like they do have some history together. So I feel like he might have met her a couple of times, but she doesn't remember him very much at all, unless it's just under the, like, impressions people get from each other. So, also, if she's just 3, she's really just beginning training as a Jedi, so even if she was training as a Jedi, she wouldn't really have been really into it and got to know all these people, especially since Kylo was significantly older than her. Okay. Now, one of the questions you're going to ask me is, how can Rey be Luke's if she looked about 4 or 5 in the vision, but he disappeared when she was 3? The real question you should be asking me is, what does vanish mean? The definition says, to disappear suddenly. Disappear means to cease to be visible, and visible means to able to be seen. So basically, in the shortest terms possible, it means nobody knows where he is. No, nobody knows. Before he left 3/4 of a map with R2, but R2 got depressed, my son got depressed, and was in low power mode ever since Master Luke vanished. So the map was completely inaccessible. Nobody could have followed him, so nobody knew where he was. I mean, except for the First Order, they eventually got part of that same part of the map from the Empire's database. But that was after the fact. Now, that all makes sense. That all is sound logic. But this is another question. Who the hell is her mom? Who did Luke hook up with? And who's Rey's mom? I mean, under the assumption that Rey is Luke's daughter. Now, in the Star Wars... sorry. I'm getting a cold. In the Star Wars Extended Universe, there is a woman who did marry Luke, and her name is Mara Jade. And for all intents and purposes, for this, I am going to refer to the mother figure as Mara Jade. There are several theories about what happened to Mara Jade, one of which I came up while I was actually making notes, because I thought, wow, that could actually have happened based on who Mara Jade was, because I did research on her, and she was a very strong woman. She used to be trained as a Sith. She was an assassin, but then when her master was killed, she got to know Luke, and they realized they were in love after a while. It didn't just happen like they saw each other and like, I'm in love with you. That's not how it happened. But there are 3 theories about the mother that I'm going to present to you. That she survived everything and was living separately from Luke, as Luke was on that planet. I think it was the first Jedi Temple at the end. She was killed by the First Order during the escape and the fleeing process. But my favorite theory is that she died in the Jedi Massacre protecting the Padawan. Because it seems she's fiercely loyal, so I think that that's a very accurate description of who she could be and a very honorable way for her to have died. Now, there's no proof that she died. We don't know what happened to her. We don't even know if that's her name, but c'est la vie. That's who we're using right now. Back to the map. We saw how long that map was, and even with light speed, it could have taken a while to get there, especially with a 3-year-old child on board. Now, we're going with my theory, one of my theories that Mara Jade passed away. So Luke was left alone with Rey for about 1 year before the next thing happened. Now, it seems that no one pays attention to this one guy that I think is going to be incredibly important and have a very important part in what, like, Rey's past. I mean, it doesn't sound logical, and there's no, like, sound reasoning for it, but I just feel like this guy is going to be really important for some reason, and we have to pay attention to him, but everyone overlooks him. Do you guys remember that dude who was in the movie for maybe, like, 5 to 6 minutes at the beginning, and gave the missing piece of the map to Poe? Who the hell was he? Because later, when Kylo walked up to him, he's just like, the guy said, "I knew you before you took on that name." Who the hell is he? That he knew him before then, and he had this map. And where the hell did he get that map from? Okay. I did some research about that guy, and his name is Lor San Tekka. According to Wikipedia, he helped Luke with to learn Jedi lore that the Empire suppressed and tried to destroy. He wasn't Force sensitive, but he was a member of the Church of the Force. So he was basically like a Jedi without the abilities. And actually, all the people in that settlement, it was actually a religious settlement for the Church of the Force. So everyone who was killed there were basically like Jedis who weren't Force sensitive, and that's really sad. At least that's what I get from it. So, it takes a while for Luke to get to where he's going, and he has a 3-year-old child with him. What is he to do? On the way to Acheth, or the first Jedi temple, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, I just kind of make up sounds when I say that word, but I'm pretty sure it's ACHC, or AHCH. I think it's AHCH, but whatever. I hypothesize that Luke gave Lor the piece of the map and told them, when the Resistance needs me, let them have it. Give it to them. Give it to them because I need to come back then. But for now, like, if it's not necessary, don't give it. But if they need me, then I'll know. Okay. So he continued his flee, and so when he met up with Lor, he realized how unsafe it would have been for him to keep Rey with him. So he asked his friend Lor to watch over her. Not necessarily to keep her with him, but to watch over her. And, I mean, we did find this man on Jakku, just like where we found Rey, right? So, we found both of these people on Jakku. There's something there that two people, one person who I think is very important and one person who is important, they're kind of on the same place. They're far from each other, but not quite too far, per se. I theorize that Lor kept Rey with him for a little while, but when he realized that the First Order discovered him, he had to give Rey up, which is backed up by the vision that Rey had. We were led to believe something very different, because we're led to believe that her parents flew away and just left her on this sand planet. I don't think that's what happened. Because the voice of the guy who we heard saying, like, come child, or something like that, or come on, girl, what sounded very much to me like the fat guy who gave out portions at that little scavenger thing. And that is, we kind of know where she's been for most of the time, like, since she was, like, 5 or 6. So, Laura left her with someone who she couldn't really trust, but the First Order would never think to look there, really. Unless something, of course, happened that provoked them to look there, which did end up happening. So he was trying to keep her safe, too, by leaving her in a place where nobody would think to look. That's far away, but close enough for him to keep tabs on her just in case anything happened. Sorry, I was reading something that I actually wrote and I don't remember. Okay. He knew that the First Order would find and kill him, so he wanted to keep Rey safe, especially because he's Luke. She is Luke's daughter. Now, and the spaceship flying away, she's either confusing two memories about her father leaving her and having to go away, or she is remembering Lord leaving her. And she was waiting for him to come back. Because it never implied, she didn't really know her father very well. Because she was only 3 when he had to leave. So, not having very many memories of him and then being left with someone else, maybe she considered Lord her family. But she was waiting for someone to come back. Who was she waiting for? That's the question. Now, that was, and I said all of that because it implied, the whole, like, map implies that the whole map and the information with the whole lore having part of the map implies that Luke did not go straight to the Jedi Temple, in my opinion. And that is very significant. And from there, that's my backstory about how Luke and Rey are related and how Rey is, in my opinion, Luke's daughter. Now, you're going to ask me 2 major questions. Why the hell did Luke leave her when he basically was raised by his aunt and uncle and he knows what it feels like to be left like that? Well, if you're going to be living as a hermit on a planet, basically so that you are not found out and you can be summoned when you need to be summoned, and you're basically being hunted down by an evil corporation, you kind of want to save who you can and minimize the collateral damage. So it's like, let's save my daughter by leaving her with my friend, who then also had to give her up, but that's another story. I'm pretty sure Luke would rather her be alive than be with her. And that's one of the biggest things about love in general. You would rather someone be happy than be with you. And that actually means, like, you're in love, in my opinion, but it's unconditional love as well. And another big question that I see a lot of people who don't want this to be true or don't accept it as true yet is, why does Luke not look happy when he sees his daughter for the first time in like 14 or so years? 14 or 15 years. That is a very, very good question to ask. Or 18 years, my bad. I was just like, what? Okay. However many years it was, I don't even remember at this point. I'm too far into it to back out now. Why wasn't he happy? Well, that's a pretty easy thing to explain. I mean, as much as that he is probably very happy to see her, he probably sensed her presence on the island from the time she stepped there, or from the time she started flying there. And he probably had all that time to be happy, but then he realized when she was actually in front of him, oh my God, this is it. The Resistance needs me. I have to come back. And also he probably felt Han Solo die. In, like, whatever fashion he probably felt like pain in his heart or something. I mean, Leia did. He probably felt him die. And that's a significant thing, your best friend passing away. And the First Order destroying basically the entire Republic. And your daughter or your young Padawan needs you to come back, and the Resistance needs you to come back because basically they're going to die and they're not going to be able to survive or do anything without you because they need the Jedi to return, but he's kind of a little scared to do that after what happened with Kylo. All of this leads to bittersweet emotions and doesn't lead to a smile on someone's face. It leads to like the facial expression that Luke had. So as much as he's happy to see his daughter and happy she's alive and happy she made it and happy she's feeling the Force, he knows about people who died. He knows about the Resistance in trouble. He knows about the Republic being destroyed. He basically, I believe he felt everything happen. And that wouldn't make anyone happy. Now that I've presented the theory to you and I've presented all of these contradicting ideas and questions to you, I want to ask you some questions. And the biggest question is, do we want it to be true? Do we want Rey to be Luke Skywalker's daughter? Now, I'm here to present you with questions and present you with this theory and give you a legitimate reason as to believe that this theory could possibly be true. I'm not here to put thoughts in your mind, but I am here to present you with both sides of the aisle here. Why would we want it to be true? Well, because it continues the legacy of Star Wars. That it's basically an entire family's drama fucking up the galaxy. It makes sense in pretty much every way that, well, the lightsaber flew toward Rey instead of Kylo. Well, that means something. The lightsaber called to Rey, and it was Luke's and Anakin's. What does that mean? That clearly means there's some relation there, or some kind of, something going on there. It makes sense that she is his daughter. It would continue the legacy of the good and evil, even just in one family. And I think that's a really cool thing to continue to go on. That there is dark and light in just one family. But I think there's something that someone made a very good point online. Why should we not want her to be Luke's daughter? And it's a very good point. Because it kind of shows that as long as there's a Skywalker alive, the Force is still there. The Force is still able to be gotten at. People that just in their bloodline alone, the Force is safeguarded. That it shows that it kind of makes you think, well, why do we need anyone else? It also is just like, I think that's a significant point, though. Why would we only want one family? Why would we only want their story and not other people's stories? Like Finn. I am going to present you with something maybe in a different video, maybe in this video, I don't know. This video is very long as is. But why would we want just one family story of what's happening in the galaxy? Why do we just want to believe that as long as Skywalkers are there, they can still the free? Why do we want it? Why do we want her so desperately to be a Skywalker? Why does she need to be a Skywalker? She doesn't need to be a Skywalker. Does she? It just makes sense for her to be a Skywalker. Do I want her to be a Skywalker? Honestly, I don't see any other way it could be. I honestly don't see anything else. I mean, I see one theory that I could potentially get behind if it were to be true, but I don't see any other way it could be taken, because, like, some people suggest that she is the reincarnation of Anakin Skywalker, and I'm just like, so you're telling me, one, she is a Skywalker, and two, why would you do that to Star Wars? That's like a Doctor Who thing. That's like, you don't do that to Star Wars. I will literally bite people if they try to do that. I won't be happy. But do we want her to be a Skywalker? I mean, just because we do or don't want her to be a Skywalker, the writers aren't going to really listen to us. They already made up their minds. They're already writing this. They're probably already in pre-writing. And they're going to do what they're going to do regardless. But do we want it? Do we want this to be the continuation of one family and not going beyond that? But there is also another contra to that. Well, sure, why not? Why not? I mean, we've been with Anakin Skywalker, the grandfather at this point, since he was 9. We were with Luke since he was 19. Not even 19. I think he might have been a little younger than that, but whatever. We've been with this whole family lineage since the grandfather was 9 years old. Why shouldn't we want her to be a Skywalker? There's no reason for her not to be. There's no reason for her to be, and there's no reason for her not to be. And I think it's pretty cool, either way, what happens. Now, because this is just going to... you know what? I'll present the alternate theory to you. The alternate theory that I could get behind is that she is the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I really like that theory too, because it would explain some things that actually, then we don't have to worry really about any of the ages I talked about, making it fit together properly. We don't have to worry about that. And it would also explain why the lightsaber called to her. And why it also flew to her, because Obi-Wan did train both Anakin and Luke. And so it would explain why it called her, and why it flew to her instead of Kylo, even though Kylo is the nephew of basically the owner of the lightsaber. There's also the aspect, I believe, of someone who's going to use it for the right reasons, someone who's going to use it for the wrong reasons, and the lightsaber would probably choose who's going to use it for the right reasons over the wrong. But I think that her being the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi would be a significant thing, especially if it kind of intertwines with the first idea where she's the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and she's also a Skywalker, which would be really freaking cool, and it's just like that would explain why she can basically do a lot of stuff that she can do without the training a lot of other Jedis receive. Because she's pretty advanced, being able to use those mind tricks. At least I think so. And it would make sense because she has the Force from Obi-Wan and from the Skywalkers, and like together, that's probably a crazy amount of Force powers. I know that was very juvenile way to describe it, but whatever. But the real thing I just want to say at the end of this video, to wrap it up, close it out, is to say, what does it matter? We can speculate as much as we want. Honestly, I love to speculate. I think it's fun. I think it gets your creative juices flowing. It's just exciting to be able to speculate about things you really don't know. To make up your own theories, to put everything together in your mind. It's really fun. Especially when you're really passionate about the thing that you're speculating about. And I really love Star Wars. So it's like, me writing all of that stuff is so exciting that I can speculate about this one character and how she's related to the original trio, or if she's not. And that's where I'm going with this. What does it matter who her parents are? I mean, of course we want to know, especially because the Force is so strong in her. We need to know. And if the writers don't explain that, which they will because they said they would, and I trust them, which I shouldn't, but whatever. We have to know. Because we need an explanation as to why and how and who she really is. Because as much as we know about the character, that she's a strong woman, that she can take care of herself, that she's incredibly feeling, but she's not seen as weak, and that she's a woman. Sorry. And that she is a woman, and she's seen as strong, even though she has emotions. It's a great step forward for gender equality in the media and in the movie business, which has been heavily, masculine the entire time. It's significant that she is just this character in of itself. That she is this character, that she is a she, and that she is who she is. And I appreciate her for everything that she is. I love her. She is one of my favorite characters. So, what does it matter who her parents are? To be honest, it really doesn't. Because she's amazing just as the singular character that she is. What if she has no last name? Somebody said to me. Because they don't like the idea of her being related to Skywalker. And I'm just like, you're right. It doesn't matter what her last name is. Because she is the character she is. So, if she's related to the original trio, great. If she's not related to the original trio, okay. If she's not related to Luke, I don't care. If she is, I don't care. I mean, I kind of will care if she is, because, that would validate some of my assumptions and a lot of other people's assumptions, and it would create a whole new dimension to the story, knowing that she's Luke's daughter, but whatever. It doesn't really matter who she's related to, because she is the character she is, and she gets all the credit for being that character just because that's who she is. And we should respect her for who she is. And I really do. But we all have the right to know why she is who she is. Sure, she grew up strong because she grew up basically alone for most of her life, and she's incredibly feeling because she's dealt with loss her entire life and being abandoned, but we should know more about her. And I think it's very important for us to know who her parents are so we can understand a whole different dimension of her character. Though it doesn't really matter who her parents are, because regardless of if her parents are fucking Chewbacca and Jabba, yes, I know they're both men, but whatever. If her parents are Chewbacca and Jabba, does it make any difference? It kind of does make a little bit of a difference, but that's whatever. Does it mean anything else if she's Luke Skywalker and Mara Jade's daughter? It does mean something different, because they're not related to this, because they're different, it's a different lineage and parentage, but it's not going to affect her character, because she is Rey. She is the scavenger from Jakku. She found BB-8, going to be sold for parts. She got herself where she is. But you still would like to know who her parents are. Because why is the Force so strong with her that the lightsaber flew to her over Kylo, when he is also incredibly strong with the Force? So that's my whole spiel. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you think the theory was as well thought out as I do. So, have a lovely day, and may the Force be with you.